Happy Halloween, everybody, and welcome back to Getting on My Nerves with me, Sophie, and my co host, Angie.
Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about fear. And there's all kinds of fear that comes with a chronic illness. There's all kinds of fear that comes with life. But Sophie and I have both dealt with fear on many different levels in our life, just like everyone has. But we wanted to offer some insight into that and then also some tips on how you can help yourself releasing fear caused by your connected situations, people, others putting fear onto you because they're scared for you. So this is what we're going to talk about today. And I've got my Wonder Woman shirt on today for Halloween.
Yeah, I think it's really important. Obviously, Halloween is a very fun and exciting holiday for many of us. And for a lot of people, the fears kind of seep back in. It can be sometimes a trigger because a lot of us have been through a lot in our medical journey, so to speak, in terms of medical trauma, like being faced with diagnosis and like really tough words to sort of digest and take on. And it can be a hard time, not just, an exciting time. Sometimes it's hard to watch people enjoy the holiday when you think I'm filled with fear inside.
Yes, I agree. I have to confess right there. I was just listening to you talk and I didn't have anything to say. I was like, wow,
I
she's
do it all the time. I do it all the time.
Yes, I enjoy Halloween very much. Like I always used to, I haven't for a while, but I used to dress up, with my kids and we dress up for Halloween or birthdays or whatever. And it's fun to be someone else that you're not
Yeah.
normally, for Halloween. It's fun and it takes your mind off of what you're going through.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me, I'm big on just trying to get people together. We don't even have to sort of dress up, but if we can just watch a scary movie all together and like have friends over and just have like, picky food and like just really just spend that time together, then it really helps you feel supported in what you're going through as well. And it kind of just brings home that you're okay, like you are safe. You have these people around you, and that can really bring a lot of comfort as well.
So let's talk about that for a second, like the fear, where it comes from and what it does to your body. So we know fear is your fight or flight, and it will get your cortisol levels up, get you into that survival mode. So what happens when you stay in that survival mode? Because let's say you've had an illness for many years and doctors don't know what it is. Then you finally receive a diagnosis. And I'll use myself as an example here. I was misdiagnosed for 16 years. And when I found out I had Lyme, it was late stage neurological Lyme and I had co-infections with it. And then I was told on top of that, I had 6 to 12 months to live. So that was a lot of fear coming at me. And then when I found out at work that I had Lyme, and I remember being shocked and I know I had like a shocked look on my face. And so then my coworkers were like, oh, Lyme, that's worse than cancer. You know that, right? And then someone else came up to me and they totally screwed me up for the day because they told me about someone they knew who had Lyme, was a mother, had children, and she passed away. And that set me off because at the time my children were 11 and 13 when I found out, or 11 and 13, 10 and 13. I'm sorry. So it was mind blowing. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't leave my children. So therefore I had my own fears, like of the doctor telling me what I had and being, told I had X amount of time to live. And here is the thing too. Don't let a doctor tell you how long you have left because I'm proof that I'm still here and I made it through. Was it a horrible time? Yes, it was, but I made it through. So don't allow them to put that expiration date on you because it doesn't always work out like that. It's within you, whether you're going to stay here and fight and be here. And I was determined to be here for my children.
Obviously, you said that the doctors gave you a six to 12 months basically to live. It's the same with my dad when he had a serious heart attack. They basically said, look, he's got a 1% chance of surviving. And if he walks out this hospital, he'll only survive for 4 years. That's it. And now, like, we're 12 years down the line and I mean, he's not like obviously the bill of the best health, but he's still able to do what he was doing before and he's built himself back up. And I know obviously doctors and the medical professionals are like trained to make you aware, but sometimes that awareness can really send you to a bad place. Like they told me and my brother, like I was 15 at the time, my brother was 12. They didn't tell my mom, they told us as like children. And that we just thought, oh my gosh, like, I mean, we're in the ICU as it is. We could lose him tomorrow, or we could have like 4 years with him. And that is a hard place to be, as well as like, obviously, if they'd said it to your children, they'd probably feel the same, thinking, oh my gosh, like, mummy's going to die. And you're literally watching the clock to see, like, oh my gosh, like, she survived 8 months. She's probably only got 4 months left, like this, and you're panicking all the time.
Yes. And I mean, that's a good point. Like, I know when I found out and we had to sit down and tell our kids, my ex-husband, he's like, don't tell them that they said you're going to die. So we ended up hiding things from them because we thought that was what was best for them. But in the end, years later, it all came to a head and the kids were very angry because they were like, we saw what you looked like. I got down to 99 pounds. They're like, we knew you were not well. You were dying. And when I finally did tell them that it was a strong possibility that I would not be here, they pulled back at different times. And they still do to this day. Like if I'm going through a rough time, I won't hear from them, and I understand it because I'm sure they get triggered. They're like, oh, mom's sick again. Like, what's going to happen?
Defense mechanism.
Yes, a defense mechanism. Exactly. So I think sometimes we can, like in your case, you were told straight up. And in my case, I held back. So what's the happy medium?
It's a difficult one to get your head around, isn't it, really? Because you want to be in the know because you want to know what you're dealing with. And when I first got a diagnosis, I was like, fab, like this is what it is now, what we're dealing with. Whereas before, like, I battled with it for so long of like so many unknowns that was sending me a decline in itself because I felt like something was wrong and no one else could recognize it. And I was maybe making it up in my head because that's what I was being told. So when I finally got a diagnosis, I was in the know. I was like, fab. But then it's like, there's no cure. This is what's going to happen. This is how much you're going to have to take for the rest of your life. And then it's like, oh, and then you have to take that time to like process that. And it's really hard because it is, where is the line? It really is.
It is. You made me think of something like when I was already down here in Florida, and because I had to come to my parents when they told me I was going to not make it, I had to come down here because I needed help. And that's another thing, is like recognizing that you need help and to not be afraid to ask for it. Therein is fear. But there was a doctor here that I went to see in Jacksonville, and she was very well known as a Lyme literate MD. And after the first appointment, I come home and I had like 6 pages of instructions and all of these new supplements. Plus I had a PICC line. So she was going to be doing all of that. I was so overwhelmed. I didn't even know where to start, even though I had instructions on where to start.
Yeah.
It was so overwhelming. And like, I think the more you go within yourself and you calm yourself down and say, I'm not going to allow, and like the fear too with the doctors is they know you. So they're scared for you and they see you doing poorly. They want to help you.
Yeah.
So therein that lies where the doctors put their fear on you unknowingly. Okay. So you're taking that on, you have your own fear. You have to fear of if you have children or your family or your husband or your boyfriend, whatever, girlfriend, whomever it is, you've got their fears on you too. So as a chronically ill patient, you have not only your own fears, you have all of these other ones. So how do you throw all of that off?
I think for me, it was knowing who I was as a person. I used to swim, so I knew that I had that determination that if I put my mind to something, and I would never, ever allow myself to be defeated. anything that came my way, I was like, I did it in the pool, I can do it again. And I think when you believe yourself and you know that you want life still and you want to get through this, because I think, again, if you give up on yourself, that's when you decline. And I'm not saying that I didn't have times when I gave up on myself, because I did, and I declined massively. But then it's having the strength to be able to pull yourself out of it again and focus on what brings you joy in life and what you enjoy, and being around people that lift you up and empower you and not put you down and actually support you. And we can both say that we've lost, family members, we've lost friends through this process. And it takes these bad times, sadly, to know who your true friends are. But I think coming out of it, like, we're happy with like our close circle now, because we know that they are, there for us and they're our cheerleaders. Like, if tomorrow we took a real turn for the worse and we ended up in hospital, they'd be there. They wouldn't think twice. They'd drive, they'd get there, they'd be there for us. And that kind of support as well kind of gives you the hope and makes you feel loved and appreciated and not a burden. And then again, like, sort of the fear of thinking that you're a burden and like no one wants to be around you, that kind of gets silenced as well, because you've got these people that would literally do anything to support you.
Yes, I agree with you. For me, how I dealt with it when I moved down here to my parents in 2014, it's been 9 years now, almost, that I've been down here. And I thought I was going to be here for 6 months. So, but I'm very grateful and thankful that I had somewhere to go, because I know a lot of people don't have that family support. But I do know that, like, what helped me get through, because like you, I had dark times, but I wouldn't let them overpower me. I would acknowledge them and I'd be like, okay, I'll express that if I feel like crying, if I feel like being angry. I allowed myself to have those feelings instead of pushing them down, so I didn't make others uncomfortable or myself. Now, in doing that, like, there's different ways that you can do that. Like, I chronicled my entire journey with Lyme. Now, you can't see that now. There's a few things that got saved, but
Yeah.
lost my first Facebook account that had all of that information on it. But it helped me, and it helped others see what I was going through and be able to keep in the loop on what was happening. But it always ended every post, no matter if it was, whatever I was going through at the time that was dark, I always ended it on a positive note, because I think that's key with all of this, is ending things on a positive note, no matter what. If you're venting, talking about your feelings or whatever, you still end it positively to give not only yourself hope, but others, if you're publicly talking about things. So,
and like, mindset is so powerful. Like, you can do anything when you put your mind to it. And you're going to have days where you doubt yourself. There's going to be days where you just want to cry all day and you feel down. And it's important to allow yourself to have those days and not like shut them off. Because I think that's really important. Because I think when you start like dampening down the emotions or trying to put a brick wall between you and your fear, then it's only going to build up and get worse. And one day it'll just overwhelm you, and then that'll be just too much for you to handle.
Yes, you're right. I wanted to say something. I was thinking when you were talking earlier, like about my children, it was this year, and they're newly turned. They were 19 and 22, but now they're 20, excuse me, 20 and 23. And my throat chakra there was playing around. Anyway, they told me earlier this year, they're like, Mom, if there's something going on, we want to know. We don't want to not know and be surprised if something happens, shocked and surprised. So I felt like that was, in their sense, they were stepping up and facing their fears. And I was acknowledging that, okay, I don't have to fear telling them or not telling them something. Now, when I do tell them, they'll be like, okay, that's good, or I love you, or, whatever. And they put a positive on it, but I can feel in their energy that they get a little scared and they step back a little bit, but they don't stay back as far as they used to. My kids have been very supportive through all of this. They were kids, so you can't put adult things on children.
No, it's a lot for them to digest. And I know at the time when my dad went in and Alex was like, I want to know everything. And my mum tried to shield us from a lot. didn't want to tell Alex too much, but like Alex was insistent that he wanted to know everything. And I think he probably scared himself a little bit, but Alex is one of these that he watches, absorbs, and then he can pull himself out of it quite well. So even though he was scared, he took that to, right, I need to know how many drips and what's going into daddy at the moment. So he'd go to the nurses, like, right, what's this? What's this? What's this machine doing? What's that doing? But that was his way of like coping because he didn't want to like sit in silence and he didn't want to like actually take in what's going on. He wanted to be knowledgeable and actually know exactly what's going on himself.
But that was like his way of having some kind of control in the situation because
Yeah.
when it happens, it's like you feel so out of control. I can relate that to like when my dad had his stroke. It's been 6 years ago and he passed away 6 years ago. You are totally like, and I was still on treatment big time then. And it was just like, you're trying to keep all these plates spinning in the air.
Yeah.
So I commend Alex for doing that at such a young age because that was really good.
No, yeah, he's very switched on. Like I just wanted to kind of sit there and watch the nurses and just like take it all in, whereas he's quite like proactive in that sense. And it was like when my granddad went in, he said the exact same to our mum. He was like, I need to know everything. He like rang her up and he was like, I need to know everything.
Aw. You're proactive though, Sophie. You're proactive in a different kind of way.
I think like I'm more of like just a yeah, like I'll support, like I'll be there for emotional support, like I'll give you like gifts to like raise you up, I'll sit with you for hours, even if we're not speaking, I'll sit with you. Whereas like Alex doesn't sit still, like he can't do silence and he can't do stillness, so he has to be like walking around, looking around, what's this, what's that, because he gets bored very easily. So like I'm like the other side of the spectrum, really. But yeah, I think also, I'm quite an emotional person. So I know when my granddad was in and my dad, like especially my dad, because he doesn't like hospitals, like he's got nightmares from when his mum died in hospital and he won't go in it. So obviously when he was in ICU and he'd been in a coma for 4.5 weeks and they were starting to try and bring him out of it, my mum was like, right, like put his glasses on because he's practically blind. And he was like, you need to tell him slowly where he is because he's going to really get shocked and surprised. And that could give you another heart attack because he'd get himself so worked up. So I was like, right, I'll get him a little bear so he's never alone. But like, I used to hate it because you used to leave the hospital and he'd be there like, and I'd be like, oh, like we've got to go. Like it's end of visiting hours. Whereas like Alex is like, right, I've done my time now. We've been here 2 hours. I'm bored. I was like, oh no, I don't want to leave him. I'll just sit here. But it's weird how different people react differently to these kinds of situations.
It's true. And as far as we were talking earlier about how fear is connected, all of our emotions are connected to each other. So you could come across as having anger or anxiety, and
Yeah.
that can go back to the core emotion of fear. Then you have to release the anxiety, you have to release the anger, and then you release the fear. And people are probably like, how do you release it? You release it. You say, I am releasing the fear that's, caused by or connected to whatever situation or person. So you could say, for instance, like with your dad with hospitals, I am releasing the fear caused by or connected to hospitals fully and permanently from my body, mind, heart, and soul. Then you refill yourself with a positive statement. I am calm. I am in control of me. So you just say things like that. So you balance it out, and it will help you to feel better about the situation in yourself. And you keep saying it. Like I always say, you tap into the universe. You do the 3-6-9. So you can either write it out 3 times, you can say it 3 times, and you can do it 3 times a day. So there's your 3-6-9. And that taps into the universe. It helps you release all of that. That's my tip.
It's a good tip, to be fair, because I know when like James suffers really badly with anxiety and when he gets anxious, like he has a fear of being anxious in like a social situation anyway. So the fear's already building because he's expecting it. And And I'm like, you need to keep telling yourself that you're safe and that no one's looking at you because everyone's just staying in their own lane and focusing on what they're doing. Like they're not watching you. They're not watching how you walk into a room. Just like tell yourself that you're safe. And he has to tap and he has to self-soothe. And that's his way of like grounding himself because he's like just focusing on the tapping and he taps to his favorite song and it like that brings him back and that like restores him. But I'm just like, you need to tell yourself that, you are safe and this fear is just a fear. No, it's not going to hurt you.
That's a really good tip, Sophie, because for James to know how to do that, because a lot of people don't know how to self-soothe themselves in a positive way. A lot of people will use addictive things to self-soothe. So if that's an excellent tip to use tapping and music to bring himself back to himself and realize he is safe. And he could do the releasing and refilling where he says, I'm releasing all anxiety fully and permanently from my body, mind, heart, and soul. I'm releasing all fear from my body, mind, heart, and soul. And then he can say, I am safe. I am calm. I am in control of me. My anxiety does not control me. It's just him taking his power back. And by doing that simple of an exercise, self-soothing is huge. That's huge. And you're breathing. When you take a deep breath in and you release, you're going to calm that parasympathetic nervous system. We've done some posts on this where we have one coming up for that hugging. Hugging is a self-soothing, but calming your parasympathetic nervous system. So a lot of people will say, I'm not a hugger. Okay. But
it annoys me when people say that. And I'm like, I am a hugger.
I'm a hugger. But when you hug someone, the longer you can hug someone, it releases chemicals in your, it calms your parasympathetic nervous system. Hugging is good for you. And if you don't have someone to hug yourself. I always tell people
or a pillow. I love
a pillow. That's excellent.
At night I do that.
Yes. Hug a pillow. Well, you got James you can hug when you sleep. If you don't get too hot.
He's on PlayStation.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess
I'm a grandma. I go to bed at 8 o'clock. He stays up till 11 playing PlayStation.
You get up at 5. Let's state that and I've been channeling you this week. Like I've been waking up at like 5 or 5:30. I'm like, son of a nutcracker, Sophie, like you've got me on this schedule. I'm getting up at 5 or 5:30. This is not me. And I'm going to bed. I'm falling asleep on the couch at 9:30. So it's like,
there you go. That's it. You think, I can stay up. And then you're like, no, I can't. I actually can't. And then you think, I don't actually feel bad for going to bed early because I'm actually whacked.
No. Because I know my mom and I were watching television last night and I'd been up yesterday since a little after 5. I was like all ready to go yesterday with what we were doing. And because when this airs, we will have our interview with Carrie Sicily will have aired. And that was amazing. That was such a good interview. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We're talking in the future now.
I know, yes. It feels weird.
It does. That was a great interview. We're so happy with it. We are happy with it.
We are happy with it.
Have her back on because she's a wealth of information. She really is. So I told mom last night, I'm like, I think it was 10 o'clock at 10 or 10:30. And I'm like, I would already fallen asleep on the couch once. So I was like, I'm out, I'm going to bed. And I didn't feel bad. I went in, I had to I got to repeat tomorrow what I did today.
I know. But James came home yesterday and he was like, oh, like my friends asked me to take him to the airport. He's got to basically get to hers for 4 and then take her early and then obviously do the whole day. He's like, do you think I'm going to be able to do it? And I was like, another fear. He's having a go at me for getting up early and doing the whole day. But then he's thinking, oh, sugar, can I do it?
Oh, sugar.
Yeah. He was like, I told her I'd ask you. I was like, why do you need to ask me? He's like, you're my secretary and you'd be able to advise me on what you think I should do. I was like, it's up to you. If you want to be tired, sure.
That's right. Well, and that's something good too. When someone comes to you, like they know you're the anchor. They know you're like the sound reasoning behind everything. And a lot of times what you say can affect their decision. But then if they go on and choose to do the opposite, then they'll come back and say, oh, I should have listened to you.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you'll learn for next time.
Well, I said to him, I was like, you're building up in your mind a bit like a fear that you'll be tired all day at work But like he keeps telling me he wants to get up earlier and start his day because he feels better when he's like feeling fresher when he's had like time to have his breakfast and like actually have a chill before going to work and not just running out the door because he's late because he's got up late. So I said maybe it'll be the start of something new. Who knows?
That's a good point, Sophie, is like when people are trying to figure out where the fear comes from. So he's been at work all day and he's already putting that fear onto himself of, well, I'm going to be tired. I probably shouldn't do this or whatever. When you start putting all of that mental stuff on you, then that brings the physical down and the
Yeah.
emotions are heavy and it sets you up to fail is what it does.
Yeah, and I think I mean I'm an overthinker, so I'm not pro at this, but if something comes into your mind and you can see like the anxiety and the fear building up, and if it's like a decision, for instance, like whatever was your first kind of gut feeling on it, like I think you should roll with it. I don't think you should sit there going over and over and over and over and allowing the fear to build and then you say, oh, I don't know about that. Maybe I shouldn't do that or maybe that's not right for me because then by that point you've missed the boat and you could have stopped your growth journey because of fear.
Yeah, exactly. That I think that's another good point and tip is when you're building yourself up, you're canceling out your manifestations. You're allowing fear in so that you don't make a good choice. Therefore, the fear inhibits your internal compass, which is your discernment, your natural instinct that you have to know whether something is good or bad. So in all of those emotions, when fear gets in there, fear will keep you from doing anything. Fear will keep you from happiness,
It
from
will.
yeah. It
It'll
is
stop you from trying a new treatment because you think, oh my gosh, can my body take it? Can it survive? It'll stop you from even going to the doctors in the first place. It'll stop you from having that blood test that you really need. It'll stop you from having that scan you really need. And when you think about it like that, you think, oh my gosh, like I am doing myself a disservice because, I could have created another load of health problems from not dealing with the first health problem for a start off. And also, like, you're only living half a life at that point because you're not allowing yourself to be the person that you should be.
well, and there's also like the fear of cost for treatment. Like if you've
Yeah,
a lot of doctors or a lot of different modalities and you've done things and maybe you think it hasn't helped you when it probably has. There's all of the stones that we use, the stepping stones, but when you keep going back to the same thing and not venturing out to try something new because of fear or the fear of what something costs, you're blocking your blessings. You're blocking, like if you're saying that you're healed and that you're healthy and that you're living in wellness, you're living your life to the fullest every day, but then you have this fear over here where you don't take any steps out of your comfort zone to change your situation, it will keep you in the situation that you're in. The fear of money is energy. So when you get a good relationship with money and you release that fear where you don't hold on so tight to everything, I'm not talking about being frivolous. I'm not talking about going out and spending thousands of dollars on something that you're not sure of. You got to do your research. But if you're sure and your body's pulling you towards that, then do it because the universe, it will help you figure out a way to pay for it, you know?
and like James is very good with me about that because I used to think, oh my gosh, like I haven't got the money to do this, like I can't do that, I can't do that. And he was like, there's always a way of making money back. It will come back to you eventually. But for the here and now, you need this. So you need to put the money into it. And he takes my overthinking out a little bit because then he'll literally like sit there at night and be like, you could do this as a side hustle, or you could do this as a side hustle, or this. And if you're really stuck, you just do this. Or if you're really, really, really stuck, I'd help you. And it's like that kind of thing that it's trying to make you realize that like money isn't everything at the end of the day. It's your health and your happiness that's the top priority. Money is just there. You can't take it to the grave with you. So even if you're really, really careful with it now, like who knows, you could get really poorly and not be here in like 6 months' time because you didn't go to the doctor. And then what you're going to do? Like you've got savings. Obviously, a lot of it gets passed down, which is great for future generations. But for you, like you sacrificed your health.
The fear that is releasing what no longer serves you. And I've been doing this recently because I can tell you all of my money goes for my health. It has. The past 3 years have been very difficult for me, the past 2 years especially. And I have focused so strongly on my health and developing a protocol for me. And it takes a while to do this. This is not like last year and this year I've been on treatment. And I haven't been telling people that freely, but I am now because I am beginning to see improvements with things that I've done. It's taken time and it has taken money. And at times I would be like, how am I going to pay for this or whatever? And there would be something that would come in, my mom helped me, or, I had something that I released that freed up my money and I was able to afford whatever I was needing. So it all balances out, but you have to release that fear. And so that you don't stay stuck in the same groove, the same cycle.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like we're saying before, you have the power to get yourself out of that cycle as well. Like everyone can support you in the world, but you have to be the one to take the action. And life truly does begin outside your comfort zone. Like the fence isn't going to support you or help you. Like you've got to step out of there. And once you take the first step, that's the hardest. And then everything else falls into place after that. You've just got to have that courage and bravery to take that first step.
And courage and bravery cancel out fear every single time. I say that fear is a 4-letter word. And it is. I say it's the mother of all 4-letter words because it prevents you and keeps you in a dark place. Fear. Release your fear and be open to receive and surrender to the good that you've been manifesting and visualizing.
Definitely. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little Halloween special. And I hope everyone's dressing up. I mean, I really hope I do dress up this time, to be fair. I need to. I haven't done it for like 4 years.
I don't know the last time.
I need to branch out.
Yeah. Maybe I'll dress up this year too.
Yeah. And then we'll just dress up and not go out.
Right. Well, we will have trick-or-treaters here. So it's fun to dress up when,
we said away, yeah.
So, well, we hope everyone has a fun, safe, and fearless Halloween. So until next time, y'all know where to find us. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channels. Hit that bell so you get all of the new releases of our podcast. And you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Spotify, right? If you want to listen to us and not watch us.
Yes. Yeah, Spotify.
All right. Till next time. Bye, everybody.